All right. Good morning, everyone out there in internet land. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are located on the planet Earth. And happy Halloween to all you little kiddies out there who are going to be dressing up in little costumes and going trick or treating. I know back when I was a youngster coming up, we used to have special events at the elementary school, and we would go outside on the blacktop and march around in our costumes, and the parents would come and take pictures, and we have little candies and stuff. It was fun, and I know that I remember what my mom would do because she didn't let us go trick or treating, because when you live in the inner city, it's not so safe. So what my mom would do every day, I would come home from school and she would have two things for me. She'd have a little brown paper bag and there would be some popcorn in it. And then I would have another bag and it would have some candy in it. And my mom used to make these candy apples also, and the caramel apples. Now the candy apples was all right. I like the caramel ones the best, but she would do that. And then we would sit down and watch the 4 o'clock movie. For those of you old heads out there know what I'm talking about. You remember the 4 o'clock movie? If you are from the East Coast, you know what I'm talking about. And the 4 o'clock movie, man, they had some groundbreaking horror shows, man. I remember the trilogy of terror. I've seen that when it came out. There was one, I think it was called Sally, and it was about a woman who moved into, I don't know if it was an apartment or a house, and she liked what she saw. She looked at all the rooms, but there's one thing that was not available to her, and it just ate at her, and it was the dumb waiter. And I won't spoil it in case you guys find it and you want to and you watch it. But Sally was really good. That one gave me nightmares for a long time. I was a little kid, and then there was another one. I don't know what the name of was called, but it was about a lady and her son, and I think they lived like, I guess they had a house on the beach or something or near water, and her son's name was Michael, and Michael drowns. And I'll leave it at that. I won't spoil that one, but that movie was something else too. Then I remember don't look in the basement, Last House on the Left. Um it was just so many, man. It was just so many horror movies, and my mom was a horror movie buff, and we watched every horror movie you can possibly think of. We went to the old black and whites. We even got to a point we were like, all right, we've seen every horror movie that known to man. Let's check out some of these B-side and low budget horror movies. And we would set and we would go, if you guys remember Errol's Video, we would go and rent these, low budget B-side movies. And we would just be cracking up watching these movies. One of our favorite, all-time favorite low budget horror movies, if you haven't seen it, is called Basket Case. And I know there's like a part one, two, three, four, five, whatever. I don't know how many of them they made. But if you want a good laugh, oh my goodness, that was one of the funniest horror movies that we ever watched. So I just have very good memories of being a kid and on this day. One other thing I just remember. Okay, this is funny. Now, my mom was not, a fashion designer by any means, and but she got a bright idea once. She was like, instead of going and buying a costume, I'm gonna make you a costume. What do you want? What do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be Godzilla because that was back in the day with Godzilla and Mothra battling and all the other monsters, and I wanted to be Godzilla. So we had this green blanket that I used to like to play with. For you, for you that are young enough, you remember back in the day, old blankets and sheets we would play with and build little forts and stuff like that. So this green blanket was one of my favorites. So she was like, "All right, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna make you a Godzilla outfit." And I was hyped. I was like, "That's what I'm talking about." And long story short, it did not work, man. Um, she couldn't get it to go, and we laughed about that for I don't know how long. But that was probably one of my favorite memories was the failed attempt at the Godzilla outfit. So yeah, this day has some wonderful memories. My mom passed away back in 2012, so I miss her every day. Wish I could talk to her. So if you have a mom that is still with you, make sure you talk to her every day and spend as much time with you as possible because once they're gone, that's it. All right, so let's talk about these markets because that's why you're here. You don't care about my childhood. You don't care about none of that stuff. You want to know what's going on with these markets. Okay, so first and foremost, you can be warned this week is full of reports. Every day there is some type of government report coming out. All right. And it's an FOMC week, which means tomorrow is the Fed day, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard New York time. The Fed chairman, they make their decision on interest rates. So they're going to raise it, lower it, or do nothing. So that's going to be a big deal. I don't know if he's doing a press conference afterwards or not, but it is what it is. All right, let's jump into these markets. So the US dollar here is up 31 pips at 106.43, still maintaining that 106. Now it did dip below 106 briefly. It dropped to 105.90 before bouncing back to where it is now at 106.44. The euro is off 9 pips at 106.30. Pound sterling off 19 pips at 121.47. And the Aussie is down 38 pips at 63.48. Bitcoin futures November contract down 125 at $34,640. And the Ethereum futures are up 50 cents at $1,817.50. Hold on 1 second. All right, so thank you for holding, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry I don't have a music thing yet. We're working on that. We have music where we can play when we are taking a break. Just be back with you one more second. Sorry for the long pause and wait. All right, so where were we? All right, let's see here. Crude oil futures are up 9 cents a barrel, $82.40 a barrel. Nat gas up 13 cents at $3.48. Gold futures are only off 20 cents now at $2,005.30 an ounce. Futures on silver is down 22 cents at $23.17 an ounce. Copper off a penny at $3.63. Dow futures down 78 at 32,944. S&P 500 up 3/4 of a point at 4186 and a quarter. NASDAQ 100 off 28 and 3/4 points at 14,387. And the Russell up 8.6 points at 1662.20. Soybeans up 2 pennies at $13.09 per bushel. Beans back in the teens. We got Corn is up 75.75. So that's $4.79 per bushel. And wheat off 8 cents at $5.58 per bushel. Scanning for two bar Charlie setup. So far, we have nada. Still scanning. Still scanning. Still scanning. So far, nothing. Nothing. And still nothing. Ah, wheat. Wheat has a bearish two bar Charlie setup, so we expect an all day down day and for wheat to close in the red. All right, so once we got to the bottom of the list, there you go. We got wheat. Wheat is all by its lonesome today. So all day down day. Expect the market to also close and finish in the red. All right, now as far as what is on tap for um, later on, thinking outside the box at 11:30, that's a very good question. I have no idea yet. I'm tossing a couple of things around because there's so much going on. So, not quite sure yet, but I think I'll be able to come up with something. Give me an hour. I have a better idea which way I want to go with it. All right. So, struggling storefronts, ladies and gentlemen. It's been tough sledding for businesses with physical storefronts these days. If the initial shock of the pandemic didn't put them out of business, many were bled dry by the lack of foot traffic from workers not returning to their offices and city residents fleeing for the suburbs. In total, more than 2,800 stores have already closed across the U.S. this year. But the number of empty storefronts overwhelming downtowns isn't just a product of the post pandemic world. A key culprit keeping retail spaces empty is banks. Insiders Adam Rogers writes, lenders often have a say in the lease terms retail landlords can offer potential tenants. So even as empty storefronts pile up, banks are unwilling to have landlords cut deals that would lower a building's rental income, thereby decreasing its value. There's one exception banks are willing to make, but it's not encouraging for those hoping for a diverse downtown. National brands such as Starbucks or Target often get a pass because lenders know these corporate behemoths cover rent regardless of what happens to the location. If all that wasn't depressing enough, it's not getting any better. As Adams points out, retail space is being added across the country despite the surplus of empty storefronts because many cities require new apartment buildings to include space for shops on the ground floor. Bet you didn't know that one. As crucial as it is to fill these empty storefronts, however, it's also fair to consider what ends up going in them. When it comes to local downtowns, not all small businesses are created equally. Sometimes shops that gobble up prime retail estate don't feel like they're serving the residents living there. Take a small town in upstate New York. It's become overrun with vintage clothing shops and other miscellaneous type stores. Instead of businesses that would attract and benefit locals, these shops cater to weekenders making their pilgrimage upstate. Now, understanding the value of attracting tourists to a town, these stores feel more like they provide window shopping opportunities for out of towners as opposed to building a long term business that can grow with the community. And while you could argue something is always better than nothing, the real connection these stores have to the community feels strained at best. In other market news, choose your own adventure, the future of the stock market. Vanguard's chief investment officer believes the S&P 500 will only yield between 4.7% and 6.7% over the next few years, thanks to sky high valuations. Meanwhile, Raymond James, chief investment officer, sees a year-end rally for the S&P 500 after solid earnings from big tech and the Fed nearing the end of its tightening cycle. Some Morgan Stanley executives just got paid. The race for Morgan Stanley's next CEO is over, but no one is going home empty-handed. The bank gave $20 million bonuses to soon-to-be CEO Ted Pick and fellow contenders Andy Saperstein and Dan Simkowitz. We're running out of that money we all saved during the pandemic. A chart from JP Morgan highlights how consumers have spent most of their excess savings. From a peak of 2.1 trillion in August 21st, JP Morgan estimates that figure is now about $148 billion. Elon Musk's ambitions for X knows no bounds. The billionaire owner of X, formerly Twitter, said during an all-hands call he wants someone's entire financial life on the platform. The Verge reported, however, experts have previously questioned how realistic Musk's goal of turning X into a so-called super app are. Apple unveils new versions of its popular MacBook Pro laptops and iMac desktops. These models mark the debut of Apple's new M3 processors, which promise big improvements in both speed and graphical power. Google executive maps out mistakes to avoid during interviews. Daniel R. is a director of engineering at Google and has conducted over 1,000 interviews during his career. He explained what you should think through before your next interview and the importance of being well rested. The most influential women executives in sports media have been identified, and the top women shaping the innovating industry, whether it's through driving deals of NFL and NBA or expanding coverage into women's sports. Survey says Walmart customers are confused. The retail giant is trying to get shoppers to complete its checkout survey, but there's a problem. Workers and customers aren't sure what the survey is evaluating. And in case you don't know and have been made unaware, Walmart has been on some old ish right now. They're doing extra, doing the most. People have been uh, being arrested and charged with shoplifting who have never shoplifted a day in their life. What is happening is people who go through the self checkout lanes at Walmart are being charged with theft, even though they scanned all their items and paid for all their items and have receipts for all their items. It's Walmart's way of trying to make back some of the money that they have been losing due to theft. Of course, that right there is immoral. You don't arrest and charge people with theft who haven't stolen anything, who your camera sees paying for, scanning every item and paying for it and getting a printed out receipt. But it hasn't stopped Walmart from trying, and they have even been targeted with lawsuits as a result of it. And I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon. The secrets to getting a low mortgage rate. Newly built homes provide an opportunity for fellow market rates thanks to the incentives home builders can offer. A home builder executive breaks down the do's and don'ts that have helped her clients lower rates from 8% all the way down to 4.875%. And in other news, the Pentagon says there are no limits on how Israel uses weapons as the death toll climbs amid airstrikes in Gaza. Cornell University students have left campuses and are afraid to sleep in their rooms after violent online threats were made against Jewish pupils. Inside Citadel Security, 6-week long training for young traders, whether playing poker and learning to fail is part of the job. Yeah, there were parallels that showed that professional traders make pretty good poker players. You remember the guy Nick Leeson from Rogue Trader? Well, after he broke the Bank of England and did a stint in prison, he came out and started doing poker stuff. So, yeah. Sporus Health founder painted a rosy portrait of his healthcare startup. The reality is more complicated. I quit Amazon after 2 months. The job was a stressful, and that is something we're hearing in the tech industry right now. Less people have to do the work of more people amid all the uh, waves of layoffs. Kirk McDonald, North American CEO of WPP's Group M, will leave the company. I drove the electric BMW i4, and found a more luxurious, familiar alternative to a Tesla. So they're comparing the BMW i4 to a Tesla. All right, so the Fed meets to discuss interest rates. The Federal Open Market Committee's two-day meeting culminates with a decision about whether to raise, lower, or maintain rates. In earnings today, we got Pfizer and Samsung, to name a few. All right, folks, that is our morning pre-market show. I hope everyone got something out of this, and be prepared because it's going to be on and popping all week. As a matter of fact, I will then try to say it's about to be on and popping from now into the remainder of the calendar year because so much is happening right now. So much is going on in the world, in the markets, in the economy, outside the markets, in the economy, things outside of the markets and economy that are going to affect directly the markets and economy. So much is going on. So much is going on. It would take, I mean, I would be doing 24-hour a day nonstop podcast because that's how much is going on right now. There's so much to deal with. So you don't want to miss Thinking Outside the Box starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard New York time. Today, we're going to be talking about some of these things that are going on that the mainstream media in the West do everything in their power to avoid talking about, pretending as if it does not exist. But we're going to deal with it. So stay tuned. Until next time, you know what it is. Bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. Smash the like button, share these videos with friends and family. You never know who it may encourage or help or inform. Until next time, peace.